Human design is a part science, part spiritual system that tells you who you came here to be. You have your own blueprint, your own way of becoming successful, your own way your dreams are going to come true, the way you'll experience the most joy and fulfillment. The instruction manual for how to move through the world is custom to you. When you act according to that manual, when you act as the real you, everything in life comes to you with more ease and less resistance. We all know we're different, yet we're still acting like there's one way to do life. Let's talk about it. To find out your design and the designs of the people in your life, you can visit myhumandesign.com or download the My Human Design app in the App Store and on Google Play.
Hi everyone, welcome back. It's our cluster meeting again. Happy Tuesday, or whenever you're listening to this. I was so surprised by something that I posted on my stories yesterday. And I was telling you, Taylor, this already, that I've never, ever gotten as many replies to a story, not even by a quarter as the replies that I got to what I posted yesterday, which just goes to show what we're actually all feeling, and we're all thinking the same kind of things at the same time. What I basically was saying was that it seems crazy to me that as us adults are becoming more aware of 9-to-5 productivity becoming a lie, being a lie, and work-life balance, and honoring our needs for rest, and becoming more efficient, giving ourselves work from home, and all these different kind of tools. At the same time, most children in the schooling age are doing more than any of us could ever handle. And I was literally just saying, imagine being in your full-time job from 8 to 3, and then you have sports and other activities, and then you have homework. And these kids are doing 10-hour days of full productivity and full energy. And I just don't know how we think it's fair to them to be expecting more of them than we do of us. And also that, every single child needs something so different. And right now, the expectation on them is something so homogenized. Like, if you don't do school years the way that every other child, we believe, is normal for them to do school years, then there's something wrong with you. And I just basically went on to give some top line stuff like manifesting generator kids, maybe because they can't sit still in a classroom for 8 hours straight, maybe they're being told they have ADD, or maybe the projectors can't do the full amount of after school activity as they've been taught, or maybe they are unable to fall asleep at night because they're so stimulated. There's so many different caveats to this, but I really wanted to acknowledge that I never thought this would be something that everyone is clearly feeling so emphatically. And so let's have a conversation about it. The other thing that I wanted to say on this is we speak here a lot about this oncoming new paradigm. And, the first time I started talking about it was in 2017, made a video about it in 2018. We're 6-7 years into this, and according to Human Design, we are switching into the new paradigm fully in 2027. And so what's happening is that all the outdated parts of structures and systems that have come to be in place that don't serve us anymore are going to crumble. And so it's so easy to think about the structures like power structures, like government, like big companies, right? But there are also other structures that are so endemic in our daily life that we don't even think about them. School is one of them. College is another. Transport is another. How we socialize is another. The workplace, obviously, like working from home, is another one that we never would have thought 10 years ago people would be working from home in the droves that they are, right? So as we are creating this new paradigm, I want us to feel like we can question things that don't feel like, oh, there's some big powerful person over me telling me to do this, but more, where have we all bought into this collectively accepted reality that is only still surviving because we're still buying into it? And we're the one where, I think it's just me that doesn't feel like this is quite suiting. And maybe it's just my kid that's the outlier, or maybe I'm just the outlier. But what if everyone is the outlier now? And not because the people who first invented the system were onto something nefarious, but because they were building something that was maybe right for them, whether selfishly or from a place of, macro theory, but it's just outdated. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It's just, it isn't helping us anymore. And also that we know better now, so we can build upon what has already been built and make it better. Take the lessons that do come from it or the blessings that do come from it, but now up level it. So I thought it was so fascinating that everybody was saying, I don't know how my kids do it. I don't know how I can do it. Some version of, this is why it's so broken. This is why I'm homeschooling. And also what gave me so much hope and so much gratitude for the magic of human design is so many people saying, now that I know my kid's design, I'm not going to make her go to lacrosse. Now that I know my kid is a manifester, and he came and asked me to be going to a different school, and because I knew that you said that before, that manifestors always, often speak up about wanting to go to a school of their own, and they have a very strong choice about their schooling or lack thereof. The fact that we've said that a couple of times made a mother prepared for the fact that her manifestor son was going to come up and ask her that. And, this stuff is also well and good when it's theory, but to have it be applied to like our general daily acceptance and flow with each other, and an ability to be the person that is the lighthouse for someone else's alignment when they're maybe not old enough yet to know how, or don't know this information. Maybe you're the lighthouse for your 70-year-old parents. I don't know, but it just really made me think that we are so much more well-equipped than we think we are. And we are so on the side of the ones who will change it, because we are the ones holding down consciousness, and a consciousness of understanding and honoring individual within the collective. And you can be the most powerful person in the world right now on paper, but if you don't have that, ultimately you're missing something. And I'm just so... I read every single message, and there were hundreds of messages, and every single one of them I wanted to screenshot and just say, I'm in awe of you guys.
I think we both get emotional talking about this topic, because I remember you saying one time that the founder of Human Design, he said this system really is for the kids. Like, this is for them. Of course, we can benefit from it, but to have people who are actually using their kids' human designs to be a better parent for them and to raise them in a way that like nurtures their nature, rather than trying to nurture them into something that we've been taught children should grow into, is seriously like the most meaningful thing in the world to me. I get emotional thinking about it too. But I also think we can't talk about the school system without or the downfalls of the current school system without acknowledging the fact that, yes, it actually, as a structure, provides childcare for a lot of people who are working in that 9-to-5 structure. So there's still a purpose to that structure, but we have to start to look at these things and go, are they actually working for us now? We've done we do have a new paradigm series in the app. If you haven't listened to it, it's essentially every month, Jenna kind of does an energy read on where we're at in almost the march towards 2027. We did one that's still to this day one of our favorites. It's called The Quiet Revolution. That's kind of the approach that we should take to this. And I don't know if you agree with this, but off the top of my head, if I was a parent that, if I'm thinking about this parent that's like, well, Jenna, I would love to be able to take my manifestor out of school, but I work 9 to 5. I need the school system that exists now in order to keep working. Having even conversations with them about their design and how it's okay that they don't feel like they fit perfectly within this structure, but like, how can we make this structure work for them in any tiny micro shift that we can. Like, for example, I'm a projector and I have a 3-5 profile. school hours were a lot for me. I actually ended up getting mono when I was a kid because I was just like so burnt out and couldn't sleep at night, exactly like you said, because I was so overstimulated. I would cry, like for months. I would cry to my mom when I was in high school, like, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. And she finally had to like take me to a psychologist and try to help me figure out how to be able to sleep at night. So knowing, if she had known my design, there could have been conversations around, okay, we need to teach you some ways to empty out the energy from the day. Oh, you're a 3-5 profile. This school structure probably actually isn't the most helpful way for you to learn. That's okay. Just do your best within this structure. You getting A's is not a standard of if you're an intelligent person or not. I was like a straight up C student, okay? Like I scraped my way through school. I got out and I graduated, but my parents never made me feel like I was like not intelligent or not capable because that was where I landed. It just wasn't my way of learning, and that's fine. So just having conversations with them, even that is just helpful.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important that you bring that up, because being a successful parent is not necessarily putting every single need of your child over your own or over what's beneficial for the rest of the family. Like if you need to be at a job where you cannot homeschool, for example, like clearly the better choice is to keep your child in school. But what matters is that children are feeling the energy of you're taking the side of their real self and advocating for them within something that is uncomfortable or not working for them, rather than you backing the school's narrative, right? And being on the side of the school. And so, for example, if, for example, there's a lot of pressure on your kid to do all the extracurriculars that everyone else is doing, but they don't, keep them in school, but just pull them out of doing some of them. Or if they don't like school, make them feel seen, make them feel heard, help them figure out what else they could do that would make them happier. There's what matters is that we're coming up with fixes, because the more people come up with fixes, the broader the options and the spectrum becomes for the conversation then with the schools, because more parents have normalized, making requests and teaching their kids differently. It gives it the breathing room to evolve into something else by each person who's in the system to make it their own. And then the system itself will adjust to all the individuals that make up the system. And I think it's a very important thing when we talk about systems shifting to really, as a good mental exercise, to find the reasons why it's still good. And, I was someone who absolutely loved school. I loved learning. I was a total nerd. I was always top of my class. That wasn't my problem. It was all the other stuff that really drained me. Again, I'm a projector. But, I could have gone, I literally went to the best school in the UK. I could have gone to university, but I didn't. So, where again did you make your path your own? I had parents who hadn't gone to college. And so after high school, I was exposed to people who were like, go if you want to go, but only if you really feel like you're going to make something out of it. Or if you don't go to school or college, what do you call that? College.
Yeah, we call it college.
If you don't go to college or pursue a higher education, don't sit on your ass and do nothing. Make sure that you go out and work. But if I hadn't had parents who said to me, you can go, you don't have to go, whatever you want, everyone in my school was like, but you're so intelligent, it would be a waste not to go. So, you know what I mean? It's like you just have to have parents to help you kind of advocate your own choices instead of just shunting you into, well, you're good at this, this, and this, therefore it means that you have to do that. So on that note, what I will say is that a lot of what we pressure kids to do now at age 5, 6, 7 is almost reverse engineered based on the assumption that they have to do all of this to get into college. But the world in 13 years' time, if your kid is 5 now and it's going to be 18 when it goes to college, is going to change at such a rapid rate that anywhere in our lives that we are making decisions on a future that probably is not going to look the way it does now is where we are so ripe to create something new. Because I think it's a crazy stat, like 50% of the jobs that kids born after 2010 will take don't exist yet. And think about why colleges were first invented. They were for things like learning law and learning science. So it used to be that a very, very small percentage of people used to even go to college. And now it's like everybody has to go. I really am noticing that we are all waking up to the fact that college is a massive drain on you and your resources, and also on your time, for what most people now consider a job that is interesting and that they might want to do. How many times have you heard someone say, oh, I didn't need to go to college for what I do now? So if that's someone or something that you identify with, think about that for your kids. Like, let my kid show me who he or she really is, instead of assuming that I have to have this pressure behind them for them to get to something that actually A, might not even exist, but also B, might not help them, or C, that they might not be interested in. If you have a super academic kid who loves learning about sciences, then absolutely go for it. But do you really need to get them to do, some other after school activity just because that, our egos get in the way as parents, right? Like, I want to show that I'm the mom who has the kid who's like perfect at ballet and at sciences and at this and at that. And secretly your kid is like dying inside, right? So there's that, but there's also to understand that the reason why there is a reason that schools are in place. And I know that an extension of this conversation sometimes sounds like they don't teach you this at school. And the job of school is not to replace being a parent. The job of school is not to teach manners. The job of school is not to teach you about equipping you for life. The original intent of school was kind of like a spread bet, because society needs a certain amount of academics and lawyers and scientists and doctors. And it's almost like everybody needs to learn a decent chunk of it by age 18, where the ones who then decide to specialize in it are ready to then specialize in it and actually have a standing chance at then going deeper into that subject. So when people say things like, oh, well, I didn't use any geography or any maths, I think we have to be a little bit more, this is the time, again, you can challenge yourself instead of being so reactive and throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, actually, do you know what? Firstly, when I'm 11 years old, I also will find making P&Ls equally unimportant, and I probably won't pay attention anyway. But also that it's more about the fact that you're stretching your brain and that you're learning to apply yourself. You're learning discipline. You're learning being still. You're learning being cooperative within a group, within a societal function, right? You're learning about participation and putting your hand up, and you're learning about good behavior. You're learning about socializing with people for all the good and the bad in it. Like, think about what a schooling it gives you in human interaction. And a lot of people are successfully doing that with homeschooling now. But that structure also needs to happen. And I think we need to focus less on what it is kids are being taught, because the job of a school is not to be a parent to our kids. And you know what? Good freaking job that it's not, because I know everyone in this cluster meeting knows better how to raise their kids in terms of values and consciousness than their school does. If your school is aligned with that, then great. But I'm just happy it's in the hands of mothers and fathers.
Agreed. And I always love that you remind us that as these structures fall, it's good to look at the things that are good about these things, because these structures came in for a reason. One of the things I actually wish someone would have said to me when I was younger and in school, that I think actually would have made me get more out of that system that maybe wasn't perfectly built for me, is to say, like, this is a time when you get to explore so many kinds of subjects. I remember when I was a kid and I was like, well, I'm not going to use this math ever. I knew I was never going to use math. I just kind of was like, you kind of know as a kid the things you're actually interested in. But I think you can say to your kid, like, this is an opportunity for you to just taste a lot of things and see what you're drawn to, and encourage them to be like, oh, you are really drawn to your writing classes. That was me. I loved words. I loved putting words together. Classic. Now I know cross of explanation is my incarnation cross in human design. So it makes sense. So let them figure out in this structure what they're drawn to.
Mm-hmm. Spoken like a proper 3 as well, because even knowing your kid's profile, for example, you'll notice that what do the 1 profiles want to learn so much about? What do the 3s, how much do they want to feel like it's okay for them to experiment, right? For example, with manifesting generators, I often say to them, with parents with MGs, with our extracurriculars, is that what you call it? Yeah. Like after school activities, let them try all the things they want to try, and then just only commit to them doing a year of it if you can. Like, once they've tried it a couple times, and, don't lock them into stuff. Simple things like that you would know about how your energy type works, knowing your human design. Apply it to your kids. Think about, like, if I was that age, how much would I want someone advocating for this to be the way I set up my life before I really know how to set my own up, right? Because it's that energy that emboldens you to do life your way. And that's really what we want our kids to have. We want them to say, here's what school's offering. Here's what I'm going to work with you on. This is what's going to be okay. This is what's not going to be okay. And so on and so forth. And so, I think what you said is having a conversation about it is what's so powerful, because you are implanting a voice into a child that will then become so much easier for them to create a voice of, I trust me, my way is great, I don't need to be any other way than the way I think I naturally am. And think about how much all of us have done so much work to undo those three voices inside of us that tell us the exact opposite of those three. And think about how much more we would soar if we already had those beliefs implanted in us from that age. And so it's not about cocooning our kids and protecting them and giving them a perfect life. It's actually about teaching them these remembrances and these important values in times, in structures where not everything might suit you, because ultimately we are still always going to be a collective. There are going to be structures that bring us together. There's always going to be some kind of political thing, and not everyone is going to agree. It's just not possible. And nor do we want it that way. We want the variety to make things interesting. So it's about seeing each other and honoring each other so that we don't judge the reason why someone else is not doing the extracurricular activity, or someone wants to bow out of the party early, or someone needs a short meeting versus a long meeting. Someone wants to experiment versus someone who wants to learn more, right? So it's about working with the system of the person instead of imposing this like system that is supposed to work for everyone, this like template of a human being that we're all supposed to contort ourselves into. And, that's what the founder of human design used to say, is like, if you give this to kids so early on, imagine how quick they're going to fly, because they're never going to have to do all the unbecoming that we have had to.
I can feel people wondering, okay, Jenna, so you're saying I have a manifesting generator son, or my kid, maybe like this like learning structure isn't working for them. I'm supposed to tell them like, oh, you can just quit playing baseball whenever you want to quit playing baseball, or, oh, hey, this school thing, it's not really set up for you. So who cares about it? Just go to school and don't care about it. Like, is that what you're telling me to say, Jenna? Like, what would you say to that person?
I think it depends on a case-by-case basis. And we always come back to this, especially at the moment, more than ever, is the importance of being your own energy reader and reading the energy of a situation. Because you could have a manifesting generator child in hockey who wants to leave because it's just gotten hard, or they're presented with a challenge, versus when you feel like the process of a normal MG is happening, i.e. they were really excited about it, they got really good at it quick, they achieved some level of, I got this, I've clocked it, I get what it's about. And then once they achieve that mastery pretty quick, they realize it's not for them. And so number one thing is like obviously making them feel like they can come to you with anything. And the second thing is actually helping them have that level of recognition of why it's happening. And you could even say to a manifesting generator kid, if you feel like they're just coming to you because they're having a bad day and so then they reactively want to not do hockey anymore, right? You would just be very mindful of not saying, well, you committed to something already, so you can't leave it now, right? Because that's directly informing against the part of them that they actually need to hold on to. But you could teach them things like, oh, well, next time, let's take more time to decide if you're actually interested in something before we commit to it. Something like that. Like, were you genuinely excited about it? Or did you do it because all your friends did it, right? That actually helps them make decisions better, to help them find out why they want to do the very things that they're doing, why they're saying the things to you about what their preferences are, what they're enjoying about school, what they're enjoying about their lives, and so on and so forth. And so a lot of it becomes almost helping them, like using whatever situation that they come to you at. If you have their design in your back pocket and you know how you can use this as either which way the decision gets made, as a way of helping them understand how to live aligned better, then that's great. and if you do recognize that it's correct for them to quit, then like I said, you don't use that word of, well, you already ahead and it's a shame or any of that kind of thing. And you say, you know what, sometimes you can think you're really into something, and you are, but also you should never feel afraid that the second it's not exciting to you anymore, then that's the time to come to me and say it's going to leave. Now, obviously, I know there's other practical things like paying up front for the year and whatever, but this is also where as parents, we start to change the paradigm of saying, you know what, maybe if enough people say they don't want to do that, then it starts becoming for only week by week, and maybe because not every person's kid who's playing hockey is playing to become a professional hockey player or a professional football player. Most people is going to want to throw their kid in for 1 week here and 1 week there. I don't know how that could look different, but maybe that's the difference. And maybe the people that go on to be proper professionals are like, those are the kids that are there every week, and then they end up going into a different kind of league. And maybe it's not going to be as expensive anymore because the coach doesn't need to come in every time or whatever. I don't know. But that's the thing, is that it's not about anyone having the answers, about the fact that the answer is going to show itself when all of us act more aligned. So there's so much emphasis on the spiritual path now to tell me where it's going. And ultimately, true spiritual mastery is we don't know where this is going, but it's going to morph to fit us. If we allow ourselves to be our real selves, it's going to morph to fit our correct selves rather than our incorrect self. Because what's happening now, we're living in a world full of distortion because we are not showing up as our real selves. So the effects of people being their not selves is a world that doesn't fit.
And people often, we've probably heard this sentiment of like, oh, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but we can't forget the fact that we're having a human experience. So we are in this game, we are in this structure. It's kind of precious if you think about the fact that your child chose to be born at this time. So within this structure is perfectly set for them to go through their transformation, for you to be a parent. So maybe there's a perfect design to the fact that, oh, we are the co-creators, me and my children. We get to co-create a new world. But I seriously get chills thinking about that. We picked this. Guys, let's have conversations about what's working for you, what's not working for you. How can we make this work better for you? Okay, I get that that's not working. So we're going to keep you in school right now because that's what mom needs, because mom can't you up till 3 p.m. But I'm glad you told me, because we're gonna think on this. We're gonna find a way to make this work for you. And oh gosh, doesn't that even just that reframe, doesn't that just lighten things up a little bit?
100%. And I don't think our goal is to completely alleviate any dissatisfaction that our kids have with the world around them, because that is a skill that we need to have as adults. So it's not about creating this fantasy world where everything is perfect for the child, because that's also taking away something from them. It's about helping them preserve their real selves and tweaking the world in the important places where it's key, and accept the things you cannot change and actually change the things you can, right? So the acceptance piece is really important, because we do need to share this world together. We're all plunked here at the same time. And, part of growing up, and especially with consciousness, is to say that, okay, well, when there are things that I have to do that aren't to my liking, or things that are jarring, or things that are tough about this world, things that give me worry and fear and anxiety, and I look around at the world around me, it's not that I can make it go away. It's that I know how to be there for myself in it. I know how to be myself as I show up to it. I know how to give myself what I need, or the reframes that I'm looking for as I'm faced with this thing. So to an extent, having challenges at school, having things you don't like about school is part of what's so great about it too, is part of, I'm having a fight with this kid. Well, that prepares you perfectly for the time you're going to need to negotiate for something in 40 years' time with your PTA or your husband or your whoever it is, right? So the bullying, the falling out with each other, the, picking friends and leaving each other out, and the parties and all of that kind of thing, that is only in schools in a child's life, because that's a natural part of being human. So we don't want to ever live under this delusion that being a good parent is making that go away. Being a good parent is being the conscious voice, the inner parent in an outer way, that you hope that one day when they're our age, they will have that healthy inner parent. They will have that healthy inner person that champions them and helps them remember who they are and where they are in any given situation, so that they're not afraid of life, right? If you're too cocooned, you're afraid of every time something might just knock you off and you'll blow over like a feather. Actually, you want to raise kids who feel capable, who feel equipped, who feel, like they have got whatever is going to happen and they are okay to dance with the unknown. Because, by the way, that's what we're all trying to do too. We're all trying to remember that we're okay to dance with the unknown, and ultimately the unknown is happening. Let's either play as if it is or pretend like it isn't. So
yeah, and we're both projectors, and we have talked about the fact that maybe we probably both did a lot more in our school time, like time-wise, activity-wise, than was probably correct for us, but neither of us would take that back, because if my mom had told me, Taylor, you can't go to school from 7:45 till 4:30 and then drive to dance and go to dance from 5 to 10 p.m. and then do homework when you got home, if she would have told me I couldn't do that, I would have been absolutely livid. I wouldn't have understood that necessarily as a kid of like, oh, I'm a projector. I don't know if it actually would have been necessarily good for me to just be like, oh, sorry, honey, you can't do that because you're a projector. Like, it's okay that they go through the experience of experiencing something that might not feel correct, because now I can look back and go, oh, I now know why this doesn't work for me.
And you would have also liked the ability to say, if you ever were, I'm really tired, can I not go today?
Sick days.
Yeah, and you would have liked, instead of being diagnosed with ADD, if people knew that, you were a quad left brain and there were other things about you. So all of that's in the mix. And so I'm glad you say that, because I want people to know, like, you're not really messing it up. If you're on this journey and you have an interest in doing this to your kids, you're already winning the assignment.
Oh my God, you're already worlds ahead of what like most of us had as kids, even if we had really good like childhoods.
So if you're listening to this and you've made it to this point in the episode, me and Taylor want to be like you one day.
Seriously, you are goals. Please, thank you for creating the world that we want to live in.
We love you guys.